Welcome back to the 48th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, the excellent Mike Gordon.
Howdy! I am excited to be here. Uh, yeah, forgive all the egg puns. Well, look, if you don't like egg puns, you're in the wrong place.
Yes,
Because,
and you're watching
because
the wrong episodes.
because this episode of Batman is chock full of egg puns. If you thought the clock show episodes that we just did, if you think those are full of clock puns, that's nothing compared to this first episode. I think this first episode has more egg puns than any other like episode we've ever seen, or two episodes of anything we've seen before.
It has a lot more that's in my note than in a lot more than in than in. I can't even say it. A lot more than I have in my notes. That's for sure.
Well, I guess the yoke's on you.
All right, so
Nice.
this is Batman Season 2, Episode 13, An Egg Grows in Gotham. Episode aired Wednesday, October 19th, 1966, directed by George Wagner, teleplay by Stanley Ralph Ross, and the story by Edwin Self. And I
Now,
thought that was weird that we had a teleplay by somebody and then the story by somebody else.
well, first off, let me do a couple things and I'll get to that. So obviously the title Egg Grows in Gotham is a take on A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which is a award-winning classic novel about a woman coming of age by Betty Smith. I don't think that's going to play out at all in this. So I think it's just a funny thing for them to use. Also, the director credit, I noticed that the G's were particularly capitalized in Wagner this time, as if like as they are an egg, like they were having like the graphic design people for the credits were having a lot of fun with this villain. And as far as Ed Self created the character. He came up with the character of Egghead. Now, Ed Self is the son of Fox executive in charge of production, Bill Self. And this is Ed Self's first sort of scripting, writing credit. And so he was, I guess he was like, Dad, can I have a shot at this? And Bill Self was like, sure, son. And so he did his thing, created Egghead, and then passed it off to Stanley Ralph Ross to develop. And I think it's Stanley who brought in all the egg puns. So we have Stanley to thank for all of the egg puns. Yeah, so that's my understanding of how it came to be because Egghead is not a character that is in the comics at all. This is another one of those characters that's created for the series, which we've seen so much of this season. There are some similar characters in comics. There's a character called Egghead that's a Marvel villain that was introduced in Tales to Astonish in 1962, issue number 38. And that was created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Larry Lieber. And this was a big-headed, bald, evil genius who went up against the Avengers. I guess there's another version of that same Egghead that's been running rampant in Marvel Comics as well. So Marvel has a Egghead, um, but there's been several other minor characters in comics too, as far as DC goes. There was one that was spelled, his name was spelled Egg/Head, and he was an associate along with a character named Fish-Eyes. They were jewel thieves, and that was in Detective Comics number 63 from 1942. There was another Egghead that was part of a gang in Batman number 22 from 1944. And neither one of those were very intelligent. They were just kind of thugs with that name. So not really anything to play on here. There was, I think, the other thing that the one that I thought of, and I don't know, you're probably familiar with this character, Drew, is a the Wonder Woman villain, which was introduced in 1965, Egg Foo, which was a big egg. That was a very bad stereotype of Asian sort of Fu Manchu knockoff. Egg Foo is used in the comics, I think, to this day, but there's been a lot of change to that character to make him more politically correct. We'll get into more bad stereotypical characters as we talk about this episode, I think. But so that's the that's I think sort of the frying pan, if you will, of egghead type characters that are in comics. So there's a lot to pull from. I'm not sure exactly where Ed Self got the idea, but yeah, there's no direct comic counterpart. And he doesn't actually make the egghead that we know here, that we see here, doesn't make his first DC comic appearance until Batman Shadow of the Bat in 1992.
All right, so let's dive into our recap. City Hall. A tour is being conducted. On display is the original charter of Gotham City. Due to its excessive age and delicate condition, it has been sealed in a guaranteed burglar-proof display case, which has been vacuum sealed to protect the document.
Are
Miss
you
Bacon
sure?
asked the guide.
Are you sure it's burglar proof? I love how that's one of the Miss Bacon. I love how she specifically asked that. Are you sure it's burglar proof?
Miss Bacon asked the guide if he is absolutely sure it is burglar proof. The guide answers absolutely. As the tour starts moving away, Benedict and Boo Young toss egg bombs at the crowd when Egghead gives them a nod. Ed Ed Egghead whispers to Miss Bacon that for an expert, he has much to learn.
Now, all right, so if you want me to, I think this is a good time to dive into Egghead himself. And of course, played by Vincent Price, classically trained actor, started acting in movies and whatnot in the 30s. I don't know if I have to introduce Vincent Price to people, I don't know, I don't know what you're doing because Vincent Price was is very famous. Classically trained actor, American. I think he's from the Midwest, actually. I think he's out of St. Louis. I think that's where he was born and raised. And now, at the time that Batman 66 is being filmed and being made, Vincent Price is actually having a pretty good run doing these classic horror movies, based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe with writer director Roger Corman. And I love these movies. They are really great, and there's some sort of, I think, sort of uh, similarity between a lot of the things that you see in the Roger Corman Poe movies because they have the similar budgets, I think. And the colors are always bright. If you look at a lot of these Roger Corman movies that he did with Vincent Price for House of Usher or Mask of the Red Death or something like that, we've mentioned before how a lot of these villain layers have these torture rooms which looks like they're straight out of a Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe movie. So Vincent Price is in the middle of doing all these movies, and he's also doing a lot of TV as well. So this is just one more thing that he's doing. As far as the rest of his crew, Miss Bacon is played by Gail Heyer. This is her one and only movie or show or anything to her acting credit. This is it. This is all she does.
I
The
thought I saw she was in. I thought she was in some movie.
I oh no, sorry. This and one movie is her on her credit. That's it. So just this and one movie. You're right, one movie. That was enough. She was done.
That's why I thought she was in a movie. Yeah, I because I had looked her up too, and I noticed she was only in two things. I was like, oh, okay.
Now, the other two members of Egghead's gang, Benedict and Fu Young, are solid character actors. Benedict is played by Gene Donarski. He appeared in episodes of Star Trek, Mud's Women and Mark of Gideon, and also he appeared in two episodes of The Monkees, not the ones that we just recently reviewed, but with the monkeying around folks. But he was in Mission Impossible. He was in the movie Close Encounters. He was in Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was even in the X-Files. So even he was even working that late. And then the actor who played Fu Young, another character actor named of Ben Weldon, he appeared in a lot of film noirs. He has the distinction because he also played a henchman several times on the Batman TV, sorry, on the Superman TV series with George Reed, and thus making him the only actor to be arrested by TV's Batman and Superman. Of course, we haven't seen him got arrested yet, so
Not quite yet.
not quite yet.
Yellow gas fills the room. Egg Egghead plugs his nose while the rest of his gang puts on ceramic egg-shaped masks with holes in
Drew,
them.
Drew, you got to figure that's gas must smell like rotten eggs, right? Like
Yes.
that's 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 pretty disgusting. That's pretty disgusting. I don't know.
Well, we
I'm hoping his lair doesn't smell like that, but I you figure the gas must smell. I don't blame everybody for just passing out because that's terrible.
Yes. But yeah, it was funny that it was yellow gas.
Yeah, it's yellow gas, smells like rotten eggs. I'm sure. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bad.
What was up with those weird ceramic shaped masks with holes in them? That wasn't going to protect you from that gas.
Again, you're trying to use logic, Drew. They had to be egg-shaped masks.
They were egg shaped, so
Well, that's they're on brand.
Egghead taps on the top of the case. He puts another egg shaped bomb on top of the case. It explodes, breaking the seal around the top of the case. One of the henchmen lifts off the case. Egghead grabs the metal document and shoves it in the case held by the other henchmen. Egghead states it is time for them to make their exit. Now, did you notice that document, how fragile the document is? And then he just kind of picks it up and tosses it in like it's nothing. And
Well,
I noticed it looked
looked
like it was
metal.
a metal document.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
look
so
fragile.
I'm
It looked
like,
metal.
yes,
That was weird.
it was weird. Back at police headquarters, Chief O'Hara and Commissioner Gordon can't understand why Egghead would want to steal the charter of Gotham City. Commissioner Gordon knows they call on the Cape Crusaders often, but there is no other way to handle it.
Nope.
Wayne
I mean,
Manor, Bruce is explaining to Dick that Gotham City was founded by three families that landed at Gotham Rock. I had to laugh at Pilgrim Rock, Gotham Rock.
yep, yep.
The Savages, the Tylers, and the Waynes. The original land was leased from the Mohican Indians for the price of 9 raccoon pelts. Every 5 years, the lease has to be renewed. The city charter is very specific about it. This is such a weird arrangement.
It's a weird arrangement and it's also very strange, but I did find that there's a couple things here that I did find interesting. One, the names of the families, the Tylers, the Savages, and the Waynes. Now, of course, the Waynes is, Bruce Wayne has ties from Gotham. So that means Bruce Wayne has his family has ties to Gotham from the very beginning, which I think in the comics has been remarked on several times. There's been several sort of like flashbacks or like, travel in time or even Elseworld stories that take place in like old Gotham, and the Waynes have always had a presence there. So I don't know when that first started, and I'm not saying that this line was inspiration for all of that, but it's pretty apparent that yeah, the Waynes in Gotham are very, very much have a close relationship, and they have for the beginning. Now, the other name is Savage. Now, who does that remind you of, Drew?
Vandal Savage. It's when they brought it when I was watching the show, I was like, wait a minute, is he related to Vandal Savage?
Yeah, was
I
Vandal
just thought that
Savage
was weird.
there? Did he sign the charter? Like, was he the original guy? Um, I don't know if they even knew who Vandal Savage was at this point. Certainly they don't do anything to indicate it, but it was a kind of an interesting choice because for those people who don't know, if they're watching or listening, Vandal Savage is a villain in DC Comics that is older than dirt. Like I think was he a caveman? Like he was around in like
Yeah, I think he
yeah,
was a caveman. He's immortal,
yeah, he's immortal.
supposedly.
So I mean that is kind of a fun tie. And Tyler didn't really get anything. The only Tyler I know from DC Comics is Rex Tyler, who's our man, and I don't think that is anything to play with here. So that they're playing with on purpose. So the names are probably not intentionally DC related, but I did find it cool that they did use even unintentionally three DC related names. And yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool.
Now, in in right now in Batman comics, Vandal Savage is Commissioner Vandal Savage.
Oh,
He's
he's the
been
police commissioner?
he's the police commissioner right now, and he bought Wayne Manor. He owns Wayne Manor right now.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
interesting stuff that's going on in the comics. Now, Bruce has moved on from trying to get Wayne Manor back. He's actually bought some other manor now that he's fixing up with the Robins. So, little behind on the Batman comics on our station DCU, but actually we're going to be reviewing some this upcoming week. So I'll
Nice.
find out
Nice.
hopefully what's going on with that. So just to let you know that yeah, Vandal Savage is important in the comics right now.
I don't think he started off as a Batman villain, but it seems like yeah, and I don't know. I'd have to look and see when he was introduced to the comics, but I don't even know if at this point he was a comic character yet. But he I did find it interesting that they mentioned his name.
Yeah. Tonight is the night of the payment. So Bruce Wayne, Pete Savage, Ty, and Tim Tyler, the descendants of the original settlers, have to deliver 3 raccoon pelts each to Chief Screaming Chicken in order to fulfill the obligation. Alfred interrupts Bruce and tells him a matter of grave importance has arisen. A contract needs to be read. Bruce tells Alfred that he will take care of it immediately, and Dick states he is going with Bruce. Aunt Harriet tells Alfred that Bruce and Dick are so busy that she'll wager that Batman and Robin don't get around as much as Bruce and Dick. Alfred replies he rather doubts that.
Real quick, just to follow up, because I just looked it up real quick. Vandal Savage was introduced in 1943 in an issue of Green Lantern. So he is old enough for them to have mentioned to get that name out there if they wanted to. And the other thing about all of that too is that I think Dick asks him where the pelts came from, and Bruce Wayne says something to the effect of he had to buy a whole coat from a crooner from the 20s who had fallen on hard times. He's referring to Rudy Valley, who is a singer, very popular singer, again in the 20s, and he wore a raccoon coat. So that's who he's referring to there.
Not have known that.
So I'm here, Drew.
At police headquarters, we learn that Egghead is the smartest criminal that Batman and Robin have ever faced.
Take
Holy
that,
Bill
Clark
of
King.
Rights!
Take that, Clark King, because didn't they just say he was intelligent?
Yes. Holy Bill of Rights! Robin suggests that Egghead wants to start a war between the Gotham citizens and the Mohican Indians. Batman doubts that. There is only one Indian left. He would be outnumbered 10 million to 1. Instead, Batman believes it has something to do with the leasing conditions. At Egghead's hideout, we learn that Miss Bacon has been tasked with taking down Ed, Egghead's every thought, so that history will have a record of the most brilliant criminal mind of all time.
Yeah, he's thinking
She
ahead.
is his she is his executive secretary.
Yeah, that she is. Eggy baby. And only she's allowed to call him Eggy baby in private.
Yes, as we are told. Egghead examines the Gotham Charter with a magnifying glass and discovers a loophole that will enable him to extort control of the city. Egghead decides to pay a visit to Screaming Chief to Egghead decides to pay a visit to Chief Screaming Chicken, the last of the Mohicans. That killed me when he looked straight at the camera, brought up his magnifying glass just like this. Man, I died laughing. Now, wasn't The Last of the Mohicans a famous
That
film?
is a famous book too. Yeah, we're quoting a lot of famous books here. Ross is getting a lot of the puns in, the egg puns, and he's on fire actually. I think this is pretty fun so far. So far.
Yeah, it is. Batman and Robin arrive at Screaming Chicken's roadside teepee, a shop that sells blankets, souvenirs, tacos, pizzas, and blintzes. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right.
You are.
Batman gives Screaming Chicken the traditional Mohican greeting and makes sure the chief is attending the ceremony tonight. Now
Okay.
that Blintzens, I never even heard of that before. I looked it up, I Googled it, and it's some sort of Jewish dessert or something.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's a delicacy. I guess if you will. But look, um I don't want to get too deep into it, but we have to acknowledge it. This is all politically like awful. Like everything
Yes.
to do with Chief Screaming Chicken and the Native Americans and how they're treated in this is terrible. Like it's awful. Like, the fact that he's named Chief Screaming Chicken. Now, the actor who plays him is an amazing actor named of Edward Everett Horton, who, I mean, this guy was working in the silent era. He worked from the 20s until 1971, I think was his last credit. So he worked for over 50 years. He was in classic movies like The Front Page and Gay Divorcee. Now, Gay Divorcee is it was a series of movies he did with Astaire and Rogers, the dancing couple. He's also prominently in Arsenic and Old Lace from 1944, which I love, the Cary Grant movie. And, for around this time, he's narrating the Fractured Fairy Tales cartoons that are on Bullwinkle, which I've always loved. So he's got a distinct voice. Um, he's a great actor. In fact, it there's an interview that I read with Vincent Price said that that was one of the reasons that he agreed to do this because he was really excited for the chance to work with Edward Everett Horton. Now, Horton created or played a character on F Troop called Roaring Chicken, and that's on the same network as this Batman show. And the network, like they a lot of times on Thursdays, F Troop would run right after or sometime after, like they'd be on the same night as Batman. So it's almost a crossover with F Troop, where you have Horton playing Chief Screaming Chicken and then playing Roaring Chicken on F Troop. And of course, all of that is politically incorrect and is awful, terrible stuff and cringeworthy. The fact that he's actually in red makeup And yes, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't play well to today's audiences at all. But I love Horton, and he does with it what he can. He might be elderly at this point, but he's really sharp and he's fun. It's unfortunate that he's in this situation and that they're doing this stuff that is just like awful.
As soon as, soon as Batman and Robin leave, Egghead and his gang exit the TP. Egghead tries to make a bargain with the chief, but the chief states he must honor the treaty. Egghead states that one of the men will not make it tonight and the lease will expire. I do have quite a few egg puns in.
As well, you should.
Back at the Batcave, Batman and Robin.
Before we go back to the Batcave, one more cringeworthy thing that's kind of cool, actually, is that uh, Chief Screaming Chicken uses the word kimusabi when he's talking to Egghead, and kimusabi is a word that's actually a true Native American term. It means faithful friend, or trusty friend, or something like that. But it's most notably known and popularized by the Lone Ranger, because Tonto usually referred to the Lone Ranger as Kimasabi. So it was a term. So we've got a Batman Lone Ranger tie-in here as well. So lots of really cool little references that Ross is dropping in, and it's really fun. And yeah, if you excuse the problematic nature of a lot of the stuff, there is some really kind of funny, witty stuff going on here.
Back at the Batcave, Batman and Robin check with the Bat file. No, no new egg companies have opened up in the last few weeks. That is egg. That is Egghead's modus operandi is to align his hideout with an egg company. I thought it was strange that we had a device called the Bat file instead of the Bat computer. Have we
Mm.
seen that Bat file before, or is this new? Or I don't know. I was confused why it wasn't the Bat computer.
It's a good question. I mean, the back computer, he's got a lot of computers there, so maybe they were just like, we need to be more specific, like which computer it is, because there seems to be a lot of like computers that do a lot of different things in the Batcave. So, um, I don't know, but yeah, again, they like we said, this season they're going to the computer a lot.
They are. Batman asks Robin, what kind of company sells eggs that you can't fry, scramble, or boil? A fish egg company. Batman checks the Bat file once again and learns of one that just opened recently. I thought it was strange we had Batman asking a riddle here.
He's always trying to keep the boy wonder on his toes.
At his hideout, Egghead makes a deal with Chief Screaming Chicken, $100 a month for life and all the eggs he can eat. Egghead add, Egg, jeez. Egghead even adds a bonus to sweeten the deal. The chief can have the import export concession for all genuine American Indian blankets made in Japan.
This is this is how amazing though that Vincent Price is, because he just owns every scene he's in. He's so good, and he's so crafty with his dialogue and his speaking that you've been tripping over, and quite rightly so. You've been tripping over all of the egg puns, and every time Egghead speaks, there's an egg pun. Almost every single thing he says is an egg pun, either excellent or exquisite or egg something or yolk something or whatever. And he does it flawlessly and he does it with ease. And it's just a masterful performance here, I think, from Vincent Price. It shows that he's in his element here, and we're all fortunate that he's there too.
Yeah, I don't know if it was already in the script or if he ad libbed any of these, but he
I
does a
he,
great job of it.
Yeah, I don't, as far as I know, these are all written by Ross. He's throwing them all in there, and it's to his credit because I know that Vincent Price wasn't a big fan of the headgear that he was wearing, because it took him a long time to get into it in makeup, and it took a long time for him to get out, and he sweated a lot because he was working all day on the set, and they had to keep. My understanding was that they had to keep a little portion of the mask of the bald cap open in the back of the neck because that's where sweat would just pour out. So he was very uncomfortable and didn't like it a lot. But man, you cannot tell with his performance. He is just walking around and he is owning this character.
He is. It seemed like he was having fun with it too.
That's the key, isn't it? Like we talked about it with when you get a great actor who's tackling and having fun with these characters, it works. Whether it's King Tut or whether it's, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin. Um, you know, I would put Egghead right now in Vincent Price's Egghead. I'm comfortable in saying that he belongs in that upper echelon of Batman 60s villains because he's just a joy to watch, and it's written really well too. Ross is doing a good job writing this, even though it makes no sense and it's not politically correct.
Yes, but it sure is fun to watch, and Vincent
Yes.
Price just does a great job. I
Hmm.
I mean, we've only watched the first part of the episode, and I'm really this is one of my favorites so far. So,
Yeah. And give them a lot of credit too because this is a case where they didn't have anything to fall back on. They didn't have this character wasn't in the comics, so they had to create him from scratch. The look, the design, the sets, what the crew were going to look like and what they were going to wear, and they're all dressed up too. They have like nice suits on as well. So this is a classy operation that Egghead's got going on. And give credit to the art director, Serge Krisman, who designed the lair, and the costumer, Jan Kemp, for designing the colored silk suit. Because like this, everything is just falling into place perfectly here.
exhausted, Egghead lies down on his couch. Batman and Robin appear. Batman states there will be no rest for the wicked today. Robin adds that Egghead and his gang have egg on their faces.
See, even they're getting
Batman
in on
then
it.
Bat Batman then states that all the king's horses and all the king's men won't be able to put Egghead back together again.
There we
A
go.
fight ensues. During the fight, Egghead hits Batman from behind with a giant egg, knocking him to the ground. Egghead's henchmen grab Robin and is soon joined by Egghead, Chief Screaming Chicken, and Miss Bacon.
This is significant to me because Egghead is in the fight. We haven't seen that since I think the Archer was fighting with Batman and Robin like on the ship in the conclusion of that storyline. But we've gone through Catwoman, Minstrel, Clock King, and Tut, right? And they do not get involved with fights. They are not like going toe to toe with Batman and Robin when it comes down to fighting. Now, Egghead should be among those. Like he's an upper, intelligent guy. He should be the same kind of villain where he's like, I'm not gonna stoop to that level, and I abhor violence or whatever. I'm not gonna get my hands dirty. And yet he's right there in the fight. And in fact, he's the one who puts it to Batman or to Batman and captures Robin. I'm like, he does that is amazing. Like you don't see that very much with the main bad guy.
Chief Screaming Chicken pulls out a dagger and tells Batman that if he doesn't stop, he will give Robin a very short haircut. Egghead pulls out an acid egg and threatens to drop it on Robin. Robin stomps on the villain's feet and frees himself, running to Batman's side. Batman tells Egghead he must. Batman tells Egghead he put all his eggs in one basket.
It's a cool move
I
by
gotta
Robin
say,
that he
Rob,
gets out of it, but then he goes like right behind Batman, as if to say like, ah,
I know.
just like like it's like a little kid like running behind his dad. Like it just looks, it looks kind of childlike, but he does get out of it, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was very surprised that he got out of it. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah,
Not only did he have a dagger on him, he also had Egghead's acid egg. So,
yeah. I mean, he took a
very good
chance
move.
there.
Very good move by him. But it was funny him basically hiding behind Batman's cape. Protect me.
Exactly, like there, like get him, Dad.
Egghead throws an egg at Batman and Robin's feet. It spews out a yellow gas, causing Batman and Robin to laugh hysterically. It is laughing gas.
I still think it probably smells
Egghead,
like rotten eggs.
probably. Egghead and his gang escape. Batman gives Robin a sad pill to neutralize the laughing gas, which I thought was just ridiculous. But
It's a great scene though. They're just laughing, and I love the line where Batman says it's funnier than the Joker. So we get a Joker name drop there. And then and then they take the sad pill to counter it and said just at the tail end, it's so cool because right at the tail end of the scene, they're like starting to get like really sad, like, and then it cuts. It's like, oh man, I kind of want to see them like be sad. I don't know why, but I do. But it was great. I loved it. They did a great job with that.
back at the Batcave, Batman decides to have Bruce Wayne call both Pete Savage and Tim Tyler to make sure both are still coming to the ceremony. Both both confirm, but unbeknownst to Batman, both are being held hostage by Egghead and his men. Later on in the later on in Wayne Manor, Bruce and Dick are picked up from the mansion. In the limo, they learn from Pete and Tim that Egghead is driving the limo. Bruce tries to escape, but there is no handle. Egghead gasses all four of his prisoners. Back at Egg,
There is really a bad when the Egghead and his goons are getting I think it's Tyler, right, that owns the baseball team.
yeah,
When they kidnap him, there's a really bad moment where they mention something about that season tickets or something like that, and Miss Bacon says, "I love halfbacks." Like that's the wrong sport. Like it's just like, like, I was like, okay. So yeah, she's not exactly the sharpest egg.
back at Egghead's hideout, Egghead claims that one of his prisoners is Batman. Egghead believes it to be Bruce Wayne. Egghead hooks Bruce Wayne up to a machine that he invented that will allow him to transfer Bruce Wayne's memories into his, leaving him a vegetable. How diabolical! How inhuman! How excruciating! Will the world's greatest criminal mind extract the true identity of Batman? The explanation to these and other electric questions tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Now, I got to tell you, Mike, when we got to the cliffhanger there at the end when Bruce was under that machine,
Hmm.
that sparked my memory. I remembered seeing that before. So
Nice.
that means I've seen this episode before. I know I'd seen Egghead episodes before, but I wasn't sure if I'd seen this one. But when we got to the cliffhanger, I was like, yes, I've seen this before. And I knew I'd seen this episode before.
I got to give credit to the art designers too, because they don't have a huge budget. We know this because they can't put the sort of pow whams actually on the film themselves. They have to cut away, which is still but something that bugs me. But
I know you bring it up every episode.
not every episode, but yeah. Anyway, um, but I have to give the art director and the crews credit because they could have just recycled the chairs from the Ma Parker episodes because they very similar. They could have just swapped them out or whatever, but they're completely different. I mean, these are these are, kind of wicker chairs that they're sitting in this, and it looks pretty. It's a nice set piece. The whole I think the whole thing looks great here. Um, so interesting side note. Although he's not strapped to the chair in this one, like Bruce is, this is the only cliffhanger in the entire series involving Dick Grayson when he is not Robin.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It's the only cliffhanger where you see Dick Grayson, and not Robin in the cliffhanger. So, because Dick is hanging out with the Savage and the Wayne dudes. Or sorry, the Savage and the Tyler dudes. So I don't know how he's going to get out of it. We'll see because he doesn't have his belt. He doesn't he doesn't have his utility belt. We know that he's kind of broken through some mind situations before when they're trying to take over his mind. So I don't know if we're going to see that play out, but yeah, I know I've seen episodes with Egghead in them before, but my memory, like yours, is kind of foggy on this one, so I don't quite know exactly how they're going to get out of it. And a lot of this stuff, maybe I just put it away because, like I said, the plot line involving the Mohegans, is just terrible. But um, but everything else about this is so good. And a lot happens as you had to recap. I mean, they're going back and forth and changing around and doing stuff, and we get a fight in the middle of the episode, and a great cliffhanger and a great villain. So it's a great introduction to a great villain.
Agreed. All right. Well, that wraps up our episode for this week. Do you have a shout out, Mike?
I do. I watched a series that I think it's a few years old. But I just watched it for the first time. It's available if you have Amazon Prime. I think it originally aired on the Vice TV network, the Vice network. But it's a series called Icons Unearthed. And this series takes a look at behind the scenes things that happen with franchises. They've done one for the MCU. They've done one for James Bond movies. They've done one for the Lord of the Rings movies. They've done a series of these. And they do have one on Batman. So it's a 6 episode series, and it mainly focuses on the movies. In fact, it primarily focuses, yes, on the movies. Like the first episode, they talk about the comics and how it was created a little bit, and they mention the 60s show a little bit, but to be honest with you, they skip over a lot of that and go straight to the first Michael Keaton movie, and how that was developed and how long it took for that to get developed, and then all the things that went into making that. But these Icons Unearthed series are unofficial. So they talk to a lot of people that you wouldn't normally talk to when you see these things. When they don't talk to Michael Keaton, there's no interviews with any of the directors like Tim Burton or anything like that. They have their interviews with the set designer, the editors, the producers. But one key guy that they interview in this series is Michael Uslan. Now, Michael has made quite of a name for himself and quite a fortune of himself because he was a big Batman fan growing up as a kid and liked Batman so much in the comics that he was very excited when the 60s show came on until he watched the 60s show and he realized it was a comedy. And then he was really unhappy about that. And so he devoted the rest of his life to bringing his version, a serious version of Batman to the screen in some way. And so he got the rights, oddly enough, sometime in I think it was the late 70s, maybe even early 80s, he got the rights to produce a Batman movie in perpetuity. So he's got the right. So anything that's Batman related that's been made since like the 80s, he gets a credit on because he owns the rights to the media rights. And he got them pretty cheaply because at the time, nobody thought Batman was going to be able to be marketable. They thought that once Batmania hit in the 60s, that it was just a fluke thing and that nobody wanted to see that again. And any time, any sort of uh, opportunity they had to revive it with Adam West and all that just fell flat. So it wasn't. So he was able to get the rights pretty cheaply, and like I said, he's made out like a bandit, and he's made some really good films. Some really good movies have come out with since he's been producing them. And so we have him to thank for that. And we also have the 60 series to thank for that, because if it's not the 60 series, it wouldn't have made him angry enough to want to get the rights and then make these movies. So it's through his efforts that we have those. But it's kind of interesting. It's a 6 episode look at all basically the Batman movies from the Tim Burton one in '89 through the final one with that Christopher Nolan did. They don't get into the later ones with Ben Affleck and all that stuff later on. So they don't get into that, but it's a pretty interesting series. So if you are and you hear some stories, they might be a bit sensational, and some of them may be, not true, not entirely honest, but it's an interesting look at another angle from the making of the Batman stuff from that time period, which I thought was pretty cool.
All right. And for my shout out, I was tagged on a Facebook post a few days ago for something that was in the Untold Legend of Batman. And I was like, I have that book. I have this book from, I don't even know where I got it from, honestly. But it's the Untold Legend of Batman. It's a novel, basically, but it's a comic. It's comic. It's in black and white. And it says copyright 1982. So I don't know if it's that old or not. But this is a famous story that was, and let me get the creators on it, that was written by Len Wein, illustrated by Jim Aparo and John Byrne.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
the
just wanted to give a shout out.
Untold Legend of the Batman is one of my favorite comic series. It came out in 1980, and it was a 3 issue series, and it was in color originally. But yeah, you're right. It was there was a paperback, which you have, and
Yes.
they just released. I'm pretty excited about this because they just released a Treasury edition of it. So it's like a
Oh,
tall one.
really?
Yeah. If I see that, I'll have to get it because it's got, like you've pointed out, it's got artwork by Jim Aparo in it. It's also got artwork by John Byrne in it too. But I mean, Jim Aparo is my favorite Batman artist. Um, and partly because of this series, The Untold Legend of the Batman, and also just because he worked on Brave and the Bold and did a lot of other work on Batman. He did a lot of work on Batman. Also did some really good stuff with the Spectre and Aquaman too during his run. He was a like amazing artist, and I wish I could have met him at some point. But it is one of my favorite series. If we ever got a chance to review that series, which wink wink nod nod, we might, that I would vote for highly because it's one of my favorites. I love it, and I'm glad I don't have the paperback though. I'd forgotten that the paperback existed, so now you've reminded me of that, and I'm like, oh, I need to get that too.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind reviewing it either. I haven't read it for a while, so and it's really good.
It's a good read. It
Yeah.
really blew my mind when I first read it in 1980, and I've gone back to it over and over and over again. And I think it's yeah, it's I'm not going to put it up there with like The Dark Knight or something like that as being a seminal piece of work as far as Batman goes, but to me, it's a personal favorite because I really liked it. So very cool. I forgot that the paperback existed, but I did see that. Yeah, there's a Treasury edition that's been released, and I'm like, ooh, drool, drool, drool. But although those things are hard to store, like you can't like those don't fit in those little comic boxes. They're huge.
All right. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. Leave us a message, text us, or you can email us at batchumspodcast at gmail.com. All right, you ready to get out of here, BatChum?
Bat chums are ready to move out.
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the yolks are still going to come.